The PowerPoint presentation has been singled out from other presentation packages in the market because it has reached wide use in the Philippine scene due to the extensive marketing of Microsoft's Windows. Harvard Graphics is the other similar program. It's a package presentation developed by Software Publishing Corporation.
The PowerPoint presentation became popular during the 1990s. Its features allows you to include visuals like your pictures, drawings, cartoons, incorporated with text. You can also add audio.
The use of PPP has taken the place of the traditional slide tape presentations that was widely used in the 70s and also in the 80s, where companies and institutions made use of 35mm film positives, and these film positives were projected on screen from the slide tape projector. Sound and music were separately recorded to accompany the presentation. Sometimes sound and music was dropped from the presentation and a live speaker provided the audio part. The overhead projector used for acetate presentations has likewise been slowly changed into what we have now, the portable laptop computers that will be used for our PowerPoint presentation.
Not too long ago, when a teacher wanted to make a presentation in class, what happens is you prepare your 35mm slides. So you go out, you take a picture of, say, a landscape, and then you bring it back to your Photoshop, and then you have that film developed, and it's packaged in these small squares with plastic on them, and then you have to have this slide projector. You put your slide on this carousel and project it up onto a screen, and that's what your students see. But these days, that entire process of preparing a presentation becomes much more simple. For one thing, a person can take an image of a landscape using a digital camera, and with that digital format, export it very easily onto a computer. On the computer, you can manipulate that image in whatever way. You can cut it up, change the colors, put it onto one side, and then put text on the right side to describe what your landscape is supposed to convey, or what image or what feeling it's supposed to convey. And then you put it into this software that allows you to project that image onto a screen so that your students can see it. This whole process you can do with your computer. You don't need too many other things that will put up your cost of producing something like this for your students. It's all here. When you buy a computer, these software are already built into it, and all you need to do is just come up with an outline of what it is you want to present. That outline is the message that you want to convey to your students. It's an outline that is supposed to meet your teaching learning objective. And in the process of preparing that outline, you know that one of the most effective means of presenting your information is to accompany your words or your text with images. And that's why these presentation software have found so much utility in the educational sector, because it helps you to convey your message in a more efficient way.
With the LCD projectors in the market, images done in the computer are then magnified and projected on screen with simply plugging the computer onto the LCD. This form of presentation became popular with executives and other business professionals who need to make eye-catching images for their presentations. The educational sector has been maximizing its use in conducting their seminars and conferences, and even within the classroom.
presentation. With audio and your text and visuals, you can easily connect and capture your audience.
The thing with PowerPoint or these presentation software is there are a lot more features that have been built into them over time. So the different versions of the software have put in all sorts of add-on effects that make it even more fun to use for a teacher. One thing would be it's easy for you to put in your slide notes. You can put in your notes along with the images that you want to flash on screen, and then later on you can print everything and come up with instant handouts for your students.
That's why PowerPoint is the most commonly used communication tool.
So, how to produce and develop the PowerPoint presentation?
Well, first you have to have your topic or conceptualize at least what you want to say to your audience. When you don't have to worry about your content anymore, you can go directly to PowerPoint, and it has easy wizards, like we say, or buttons that you can follow, so you can easily create your presentation.
So we have to talk about this. So number one is that we have to know the functions of the presentation package. So PowerPoint presentation has a slide sorter, and that means that it lets us drag the slides and position them in the desired order. So you drag and drop slides from one presentation to another. It can also get charts from other Microsoft programs, and there is what we call as the Auto Content Wizard, which helps you to say what you want to do. So there is an outliner that helps you organize and reorder the thoughts that you have by letting you collapse and expand outline headlines and or headings. It has a clip art library, business images, and graphing feature to create your own figures. And of course, there is an organizational chart creator. Now, there is also an equation editor to create and to display mathematical equations. There are other features added, like the rehearsal feature that helps you practice and for you to know how long you want the presentation to last, plus how long you want each slide to be shown. You can also eventually print speakers' notes by selecting the important slides for distribution to the audience. So let us now go through the steps of developing and producing the PowerPoint presentation. Number one, planning of the presentation. This is an important phase.
When you plan out your presentation, first you have to come up with the outline, at least for your topic. And then when you have your outline, you break them into smaller chunks, because every PowerPoint presentation only has to have 5 lines for each slide. You have to break them down, and then if you want to include images or effects that you want to put in, you just write it down on a piece of paper.
And scripting and storyboard. Then you have to select the fonts.
For the fonts, when your presentation is on screen or has to be projected, you have to use fonts that are very simple, like Tahoma, and you are limited to a 28-point size. Headings would have to have larger font size, larger than 28 points. For your presentation, if you want to add focus, it's very simple. If it's a text, you just have to make the font bigger or make it in another color.
Then you have to do the visualization, create the graphics.
For graphics, usually we use what is included in the library of PowerPoint. If you want to have images that you like your pictures, you just have to have a graphic format and insert it in the slide.
Add your animation.
When you're animating your slides, each object on your slide can be animated. You can have effects that allow the text to fly in one word at a time, one letter at a time. Your images can roll over the screen if you want that.
And integrate sound and music.
For your presentation, if you want to have a standard sound for the whole presentation, like if you're running your presentation in a kiosk, or you're letting your computer just run the presentation by itself for the whole day, you can add your audio at the start and let it run throughout the presentation. You can also have audio clips for each slide.
After the planning and conceptualization, let's pause a while and go through a simple presentation. Let's do a demo step by step.
So when you start making your presentation, you just have to open the PowerPoint presentation in your computer. Then when you start PowerPoint, this screen automatically comes up. So you have choices on how to make your presentation. You can use a wizard so that you can get help as you go along. You can also have use the design template, and when you're an expert in using a presentation, you can go blank. Next, let's try using the auto content wizard. Choose auto content and click OK. For the auto content wizard, just follow the on-screen commands. Just click on next after reading the prompt. Then you can select the type of presentation you're going to give. PowerPoint has included a number of presentations that are generic that we usually use. For example, if you're selling something, or you're presenting your business plan, just click on the business plan, then click on next. The auto content wizard would now ask you what type of presentation you want. The PowerPoint presentation is mainly used for on-screen presentations. So you just click on on-screen presentation, then click on next. Then, since you already have planned out your presentation, just type in the title. And a footer, like maybe your name. Then click on next. You will see that you have finished the preliminary steps in making your presentation. Then click on finish. PowerPoint has templates that you can use. If you don't want the template that is already displayed in your screen, you can modify this by clicking on Tools, click on Format, then click on Apply Design Template. There are a number of templates that you can use that is included in PowerPoint. So just choose among the list, then click on Apply. All your PowerPoint your slides will now use the new template. From the normal view, so you have a picture of the whole presentation, just click on the slide sorter view so you can see all your slides. Click on each slide to modify the text. Since these are contents used in PowerPoint, you can just easily modify them by clicking on them. As you will see, text is usually 28-point size and uses a very simple typeface. For headings, it has set to 36 points and bold-faced. Okay. Okay, yan, save. When you're done modifying your text, you can save your presentation. When you do a presentation, just follow the simple templates that PowerPoint has made. Sometimes when you plan out your own color scheme, it doesn't appear the way it should be on screen. Remember to follow that there are only 5 points per each slide. This is because when you're speaking to a large audience and in a large hall, your audience at the back may not be able to see your text. For graphics that are print or in PowerPoint, you can use high-resolution graphics because it appears better on your computer screen.
The other new thing that you can do now with presentation software is you can link it with other media. So now, when you do a presentation, you're not just talking about text and images. You can now put in a link to an audio file that plays while you're presenting your text and image. You can make a link to a video file, or now you can even make a link to the World Wide Web. And of course, because these entire files are digital to begin with, then they can be exported or transformed into many different ways. You can store them in a diskette or in a CD-ROM for easy dissemination, or you can even just save it in a different format and post it up on the web very easily. When the files are done, a teacher can use it in a classroom setting or in an auditorium kind of setting, where you stand there on the stage and someone projects these images. They're up there on the screen, and they supplement what you're trying to say live. So there's this image that supplements what it is you're trying to say.
In Webpage's production, planning means articulating the concept, pinpointing the objectives, identifying the target audience, describing the treatment, naming the specifications, conducting research, and when it comes to production, it entails writing the text, page layout, creating the links, adding the colors, adding photographs, rendering the drawing, producing the animation, producing the video clips, interfacing and navigating, developing the website. Let me inform you that you can use the simple Microsoft Word as the program to use in making your web pages. The PowerPoint presentation can also be a program that can carry your pages on the web. In other words, there are many programs that can be used. However, since the familiar language used on the web is HTML, it is advisable to use programs meant for the web. So let's go into working with HTML. One of the authoring programs that has become popular for the web is Dreamweaver. It provides advanced design and layout tools, and as well as making it easy to use dynamic HTML features such as animated layers and the behaviors without writing a line of code. Most programs that are meant for the web have more or less the same language and or protocol. So in making a web page, the many authoring software allow you to create web pages easily. You can start by doing the following steps. Start with making and naming a folder. Then open your authoring software. Then you click New Page from the File menu. Type the headline. Hit Enter and type a paragraph about your subject matter. Then after that, hit Enter once again. Then type another paragraph about your subject matter and repeat this step as needed. Type a sentence that gives instructions like, for more details, mail to www.upou.org. Hit enter and type a topic about your subject matter that you want to link to other web pages. Then hit enter again and type another topic. Repeat this step as needed and save this page. Now, in analyzing the page that you typed, you can then identify the parts as follows: headline, body, which means that this is composed of paragraphs about your subject matter, and then the email link, topics that can be the headlines of the link pages. Now it's time to format the text. The first thing to do is to change the margin, because what will happen is that everything is on the left side and it has a very thin margin on the left. That is usually the way we type, and that's what you will have. So what you do is select all the text and choose indent right to indent the page in both sides. Actually, it will sort of shrink and you will have margins on both sides, and bring your text away from the edge of the page. Now, then what you should do is select the headline you earlier typed and look for the command that says heading 1 or largest. This means that the letters of your headline will be larger than the rest of the text. Then what you do is select the first word or two of the first paragraph of the body and change them into bold letters by using the B button. Now, what you do next would be select some words you want to emphasize and change them into maybe itals this time. All right. Then select 2 or more words from the last paragraph of the page. Find the button that has a command like +1 and make it in bold as well. This will give the bottom part of your page some focus and emphasis to make and lead your readers to look up to the bottom of your page. At this point, your page still does not look too interesting, but it probably would have improved a bit. Now, so to add some life to the page, you may want to put in some colors. That would be the next step. You can click the document button for the dialog box to come out, and then you then select the color maybe of the background, but make sure you have to be cautious if you will make use of pattern background, because there may be some difficulty in readability of your text. Now let us proceed into the creation of links. There are different types of links. You have internal links, which are those links that are that would link you to other pages. Some call this link the local or the page links. Now, the other type of link would be the external link. Now, external links are those that link to outside the website, which are also known as remote links. You can link up to any other web page in the world. So the other type of link now would be the email links. The email links are those that do not link to other pages but open up to email forms. Now then we have the anchors. Now the anchors are those that do not take you to another page but instead takes you takes the user within the page. Here are the steps in creating the internal links. Okay, now let's start with this up to any other web page in the world. So the other type of link now would be the email links. The email links are those that do not link to other pages but open up to email forms. Now then we have the anchors. Now the anchors are those that do not take you to another page but instead takes the user within the same page. Here are the steps in creating the internal links. Okay, now let's start with this first, how to create the internal link. Now select the text or the graphic from the first page to be linked to the newly created page. Find the link editor of the program. Now depending on your authoring program, you may then type in the file name from the menu or drag and drop a link icon onto the text or graphic using insert link to file button. Here are steps in creating the external link. Now select the text on the graphic from the first page to be linked to the newly created page. Find the link editor of the program. Then you type in the URL. Now you have to put in http:// and any slashes at the end of the address, you have to put that in. Click OK or hit, or what you do is hit return or hit enter. So it depends upon your programming, your authoring software. And now let us see how to make an email link. A demo would be good. On the page, on the first page that you typed, now select the email address that was typed. In the link editor, what you do is type in this code, all right? Include the colon also, huh? And now, mail to colon. Without space, type in the address after the code like this. Now, what you do now is hit return or enter or click OK. And now, you have your links. Now what we do is talk about the graphics. How do we add a graphic? We have taken up earlier under graphics on how to make graphics. Your authoring program may automatically brand the graphics like image GIF or image JPEG or JPG. If your program does this, you may include this in your website. It is important to note that the graphic file must be in your website folder. So again, it must be in your website folder. Find the button or the menu command that says insert image or place image. From your website folder, find the graphic, and what you do is click OK. Make use of the same steps in getting photographs, drawings, animation, and other types of graphics from your website files. Let me once again refer you back to knowing how to see when proceeding with your layout. Be aware of the principles of design on harmony, rhythm, and balance, and don't forget about the basic elements and the principles of separation, grouping, and giving depth. Let's learn more from our website designer experts and our professors in communication so that we can see how they do it.
So when you're making your website, if you're familiar with Microsoft Word, it is as easy as using tables in Microsoft Word. So you can look at the monitor and see that, for instance, when you're using Microsoft Front Page, which is probably the easiest software, you do not need to learn the HTML commands, which can be quite tricky. So for beginners, you can use Microsoft Front Page, and using it is as easy as inserting tables. So you have to start with table, insert table, and then you can define, for instance, the number of pixels. In this case, the usual size for a monitor. Now this changes depending upon the size of monitors available, but current average monitors can manage 709 pixels. And then you have to just insert depending upon your preference. So you can use this as a basic template, and you can start just typing, for instance, welcome to our website. Again, as I've told you earlier, you should use Arial fonts, Times New Roman, or resident fonts, because these are fonts that are available on most computers and will not move when visitors go to your site. So you have welcome to our website. This in effect is a very basic image now. So you can save. So just type in a file name. When you're working with websites, ensure that your file names do not have spaces between the words. For instance, they should have underline between words, because otherwise the links would be dead. So you should put your underscore in the between words. So save. So you can see that this is already a template for our website. So this is a very basic website that you can use. You can already publish this online. So using this insert table command, that is the very basic step. Now we will see how, for instance, this site by Mascom has been edited. Okay. So this all started again with that basic command like insert table. So in this case, you have the table around it. So again, I can select table. So you can see that underneath this page, so there's an underlying table, and then you can see that in this table is inserted another table, and then in that table you can see that in this cell, for instance, in this cell is another table. So it is just a series of tables. Let me demonstrate it to you. So there is this table, for instance. I will color it so you would know the difference. So cell properties, you can just right click. All of the options that are available to you at any given moment are available on the right click, using the right click button of your mouse. So you press right click your mouse, cell properties, and you can these are all self-explanatory. You can use, if you're familiar with Word, it's basically the same. So you use the background color, and that's your primary table. In this table, depending upon your navigation bar, you can put your navigation style here. So table, again, insert table. You can insert two more rows. Okay, and then just to show you the level of information, you can now again right click cell properties. You can change the color here, and then you can put your navigation bar there, like menu, etc. So you notice that when we type the word menu, this moved, the yellow space moved. So that's not good website design, because that means your visitors may probably have some problems with your layout when fonts move when they're accessing the website. So what you have to do is to define the size of each cell. This is a tedious process, but you have to do it. So again, you have to use using table. You have to use table. Okay, so you have to right click, as I taught you earlier, right click cell properties, and then you can see that earlier we changed the color just to show you the difference, and then we can define the width of the cell. So in this case, the menu, we want to limit it to 350 pixels. So when we do that, you can see that when we applied the 350 width for this cell, the yellow space automatically shifted. So in this way, this yellow cell will always be will always have a width of 350 pixels regardless of the website. And we will refer to the Mascom website and see that when we edit this page, you will notice that each cell has been defined. When we click the right button of our mouse and see cell properties, you will see that the width has been specified. So you do that for every cell on your website. For instance, this cell, when you right click it, cell properties, you will see that it has a width of 95. And then when you transfer to this small cell, this one, when you right click it, cell properties, you will see that it's a width of 15. So you have to ensure that, as I've said earlier, that again, the right click, table properties, this table, for instance, has a width of 759. So you have to ensure that all of the elements in your page, for instance, the horizontal, the width of your table, all of the elements in it would equal to 759. Otherwise, your web page would move a lot when you use other browsers. That's one point I think that we have to make clear, that websites don't automatically look the same in Netscape and Explorer. There's a small difference in websites when you upload them using Netscape and Explorer, because they have a different measurement for pixel. So one way to prevent the moving of your website across Explorer and Netscape is to ensure that each space is properly defined, each pixel is properly placed. So that may be tedious, but that is one way of preserving the integrity of your website across browsers. So that you have to define each part. And then again, all of the elements here, for instance, are produced could be produced either using Adobe or ULID, any photo imaging software. So all of these are just you have to just insert a picture. We do not have picture files here. So these are all. The command is, for instance, let us save this one. So you will see that a website is actually a combination of text and images. Let me again refer you to the Mascom website, and you will see that it has actually this page that we will be seeing has so many embedded pictures. Okay. So for a website to look this visual, you actually have so many picture files, as you can see on the left hand panel of Microsoft on the folder list. So all of these JPEG images are the pictures that appear on our website. Okay. So for instance, this picture is let us see. This picture is masked top left JPEG. So for instance, I will delete it, insert picture, and then you have to look for the picture that is for that section. Okay, so that is how you insert pictures. So again, using your standard photo editing software, you have to measure each cell on your website. So in this case, this cell, again, look at the picture properties. You will see that, you can check the size. It's 559, the width is 559, and the height is 75. So using these dimensions, again, I will delete the picture. When you right click the cell property, you will see that it is the same size, 559 pixels, and the height is 75. So again, you have to ensure that the size of the cell will equal the size of the image that will be in it. Otherwise, it will move, and it will not, your website will not look good across browsers. So again, you have all of these are picture images. So again, as I've told you earlier, when you want to use a different font, for instance, this media, the word media, looks like it has been typed, but actually this is also a picture file. So the media, in this case, the media center, is a picture file which you can delete rather than type it, because again, when you type it, for instance, you can type the media center. You can type the media center there. But again, you are limited to Times New Roman and Arial fonts, and that will not be very good for your website, because that will prevent you from being more experimental, etc. So in this case, that will be boring compared if you use a JPEG file, as in this case. Okay. So again, when you're, for instance, if this picture is too big size-wise, you can cut it into 2 pieces. So you can cut it in the middle using Adobe or ULEAD Photo Express. You can cut them and paste them side by side. Okay, so you just have to ensure that the dimensions are correct, so that they would look seamless. Okay, so that's it. So when you're designing, it's actually just a repetitive process. So one page, again, to refresh you, again, we started with a table. In this case, we specify the dimensions of our table. So on that table, on this table, we insert another table. So in this case, you add on those 2 tables, and then you specify the dimensions of the cells. In this case, table. So when you're looking again at the website, you will see that this is a series of tables embedded on top of each other. So let us see. Let me choose which one. So I can select, for instance, table, select table. So you can see that the highlighted section, this one, in reverse, is one table that is embedded on the bigger table. So again, I will delete it. So you can see that one table has been embedded in that cell, and that this table, again, select table, you will see that that is another table embedded again on another table. Again, we will delete it. So you see, and then this table again is another table. Again, I will show you table, select table, that is embedded on yet another table. So I will delete it again. So it is just a series of tables again. So going back, to add the table, we'll just insert the table. In this case, That's our table. And then that's it. So it's a matter of piling your tables one on top of the other. So let me do that manually. Again, table, insert table. So you have one. So that's it. And then table, insert table again. You can put it there. Again, right click, cell properties. You can define the width, for instance, of this cell 599 width, and cell height is 75. Apply. So you have this cell. You can, again, using your insert picture from file command, you can choose the picture that you have scanned earlier and insert it on that page. And then you can add, let's again, you just repeat the process again and again. Okay. So going back here, you can see that there are a series of pages of tables within this major table. You can just type one on top of the other. Then for typing, you can, it's just like using Word. And a major difference probably is the link. So when you're using link, the command is this one, hyperlink. So a main feature of websites is that to be able to flip through the pages, you have to click on links. So these underlined sections are link pages. When you click on them, they will lead you to your desired page. In this case, Mascom honors Mami Suming. You can see that the link in this page, insert. Again, you can see, right click. Again, all of these options are available on the right mouse click of your button. And then hyperlink properties. You can see that this page, this phrase, Mascom honors Mami Suming, is linked to this page, read underscore 43. That is the 43rd story. So, for instance, let us remove the link. Okay. So, remove the link. Okay. So, you can see that the underline is gone. So, again, you highlight the cell, the text or the picture, and you either a picture or a text phrase. Okay, so you click hyperlink. Okay, and then you will be given the option of either typing a website address. So for instance, if you want to link to CNN, so you have to type www.cnn.com if the text will lead to CNN. So that's one option. If the text will lead to a story within your site, then you just identify what is the name of that file. So in this case, read underscore 043.htm, because that is the file name of this story. So again, you click OK. So that's your linked page now. Again, when we go to the website, you can see that this link, when you click it, leads to the story about Mascom honoring Mami Suming. So that's it. And so that's you repeat the process. You link your sites. You link your website to other sites using their web address or URL, and you can link to pages within your site using the file names of the particular pages. Or you can also link to pictures. For instance, if you have a picture, a thumbnail or a smaller version of your picture, and you want to link to the bigger version of that picture, you just link that thumbnail to the file name of the picture, of the bigger picture. So that's the process that you have to follow. Okay, so now we will go to uploading your website. So for instance, you have done all of the pages of your website using the repeated steps that we have discussed earlier. Now we will go to uploading it. So before you upload your website, you should have an account first. So for instance, you can use you have two options, basic two options. First, you can contact an internet service provider, which will provide you a certain number of megabytes or disk space where you can upload your files, and that is for payment. You have to pay for that. And then for free, you can use GeoCities, Tripod, etc. You can get an account using these servers. And then once you have done it, you can also subscribe to the domain registry. For instance, you do not want to use geocities.com as your address, so you can register your website to the Philippine Domain Registry, which is dot.ph. So for a nominal fee, you can register your whatever name for your website you want, for your address. So now for uploading the website, okay, so for instance, you have finished this page and you want to upload it, so you can use File. You can also use your browser, your software. So File, it's there also, Publish Web, and then you can specify the location to publish your web to. So this is your account. So for instance, you have a GeoCities account, so you can type your GeoCities address, etc. And then I can publish.
If you're publishing your graphics like on the web, your graphics have to be simple and have to have low resolution. When you have graphics that are high resolution and you publish them on the web, your users or viewers would have a hard time loading the pages. It takes a longer time, and sometimes when viewers take longer than 5 seconds to load up the page, they lose interest in your page.
But another way that you can use presentation software is by packaging it and then having your students use it offline or on their own time. Because say you're a science teacher and you want to show them all the different kinds of Philippine orchids. Maybe it's not in the book, and maybe it's not going to come out very well if you just print it out on a piece of paper. So what you can give your students is your printout of what these different orchids are, but it's a guide that will allow them to look at a presentation that you've saved for them on a diskette. So these students, they can go home or use the university or the school library computer and then run these presentations at their own time and on their own pace. So you're still using the features of the software, but you're doing it in a different sense. It's not that you're up there on a stage anymore. You're letting your students use it so that they can learn from it in their own unique way. When they're all in digital form, it's now very easy for you to put them together, and you're able to connect them and package them in one format. So the whole idea of the technology is to make data transformable into many different ways so that the user can access that data very easily. Now, when you have a CD-ROM, it's not very hard for you to play it back. Any place with a computer now would have a CPU with a CD reader attached to it. You don't buy computers anymore these days without a CD writer or a CD reader, and all you have to do is put that CD in and you can play it back. The computer comes with software that will allow you to view your CD, and people who make CD-ROMs make it in a certain way so that it's easy for people to open them and access them. So now the CD-ROM becomes a very efficient tool for teachers because you can convey your message, even messages which require a lot of data, in a very simple format, so that your students who might not even be technically savvy would be able to open it and understand you better. I'm going to show you a CD-ROM that we created for a group of researchers who actually wanted to create a course to share the findings of their research. It's a course on aquatic management. You know, these people who do aquaculture, they create fish farms, they manage fish farms, and this is a part of a course where they discuss economics of feeding. Now, it's a rather complicated topic, and we weren't sure exactly how to present it well, but this is the CD that we came up with. Here you will find an example of a rather complicated graph that they use to show the economics of feeding. Now, this graph does look very complicated, and if you're starting out with this course, then it's something that can be very intimidating to you. Now, if you just look at this graph by itself, it might be very difficult to understand. You can scroll down on the page and find a bit of text here that explains the table or the chart, but still it might be a bit difficult because ideally in a classroom you would have someone explaining this graph and pointing out its features to you as it is being explained. But that kind of idea can be presented using multimedia, because here you have your graphics. You can animate it in a sense that you can make different parts of the graph appear in different times, and then it's supplemented by audio so that you have someone explaining the different parts of the graph. So the idea here is that if you have something that is very complicated to explain, normally as a teacher you stand in front of the classroom, you have a few visual aids, you say what it is you want to say, you point out the salient points on a visual that you want to show them, and you do your best to repeat what it is that you need to say until your students understand it. When you transform this information on multimedia, you can try all sorts of things. You can do audio, video, animation, text, a combination of all these different media to convey a complex idea. Another feature of CD-ROMs is that a student can replay what it is that you're trying to show him or her as many times as they need to see it. This is a package that we prepared for a regional audience, meaning the people who are viewing this CD come from other countries in the region that are not English speaking to begin with. So when they come to a face-to-face workshop or lecture, they usually have a hard time just understanding the professor who's trying to explain this, and maybe they're too shy to raise their hand and ask a question about it. And if they're if their understanding of the English language is very small to begin with, and then you give them a complicated piece of information with a lot of technical data, then it's really very hard for them to understand. Now, if you give them a package like this, if they find it hard to understand it, they can play it back and then try to listen to the audio again, or try to view the animation again. Then hopefully after a certain amount of time, then they're able to get more out of it. Let's talk about VCDs and DVDs. VCDs are basically your simple CD-ROMs. They're like 650 to 800 plus megabytes. But they're called VCDs because of the information they contain. They contain only video, or well, that's what we are given when we buy VCDs. So in a sense, they're very linear. They're not as interactive as your educational CD-ROMs, for example, where you open up a CD-ROM and there's a lot for you to do and interact with. A VCD is mainly something for you to play back. there is some form of interactivity in the sense that you click a few buttons to start it, but it's not really so very different from clicking some buttons on your VHS player. So the interactivity there is very limited. So for the most part, it's linear. However, you can still pause it, you can rewind, you can choose an image, you can even capture an image of the actor in a certain pose, for example, and do something with the picture. So in a sense, it engages you because the format is digital and you can transform it into all sorts of ways, into all the different kinds of software processes that you want to expose that bit of video that you have on your VCD. Now a DVD is slightly different in the sense that the format itself is much more compact. A VCD can have something like 4.7 gigabytes to now 18 gigabytes, and that's several orders of magnitude more than your ordinary CD-ROM or your VCD. So a DVD can then present your video in such high quality that you feel that you're watching it in a widescreen, or you can project your DVD movie into a widescreen and feel like you're watching a movie. DVDs, because of the large storage capacity, can now be formatted in such a way that allows more interactivity in it. You can have a few more buttons to click in the sense that you can watch how the movie was made, you can watch the director commenting on the movie, you can watch the movie in 3 different languages, you can watch it without the sound or with the sound, so it engages you. But that engagement really arises from the idea that the storage material is so open to a lot of features. There's a lot of space in there that you can use, and you can format it in all sorts of ways. But basically, DVD is also linear. So you play it back, you click on the buttons to start it, you sit back for an hour and a half and see what it is that you want to see. So it's really a playback mechanism, but it's something that allows you to see your material in a very efficient way. It's presented to you with very high quality, both sound and video, and you can view it in your home, in your office. You don't have to be in a big theater to do this without losing the kind of quality that you are used to when you watch a movie on widescreen. Some educators make a distinction between the words multimedia and multiple media. When they say multimedia, they mean a package that puts together different kinds of media. So the example of this would be your CD-ROM, where you open it and you find your text, your graphics, your animation, audio and video all in one package, and you can play them all from one computer or from one appliance. When you say multiple media, it means that you're using different kinds of media to convey a certain idea, but you see very clearly the distinction between the different kinds of media. At our university, what we give our students in the beginning of a course is a kit. There's a bag that contains all that they're going to need for the course. So you have your printed modules, you might have an audio tape in there, you might have a VHS tape, you might even have a CD-ROM or a diskette containing some slides or some presentations, and then you have a password that links you to a site on the internet. So in that sense, you're using different kinds of media to convey an educational package. The words multimedia and multiple media tend to have some form of a distinction in the educational field. But in the end, the idea here is that you're supposed to be able to choose the right media for the information that you want to convey, for you to be able to achieve your learning objective in the most efficient way.